I'm Steve Morgan, founder of Cybersecurity Ventures and editor-in-chief at Cybercrime magazine. I'm here today with Deneen DeFiore, Vice President and Chief Information Security Officer at United Airlines. This interview is sponsored by Conceal, provider of an intelligence-grade zero-trust technology that protects global companies of all sizes from malware and ransomware. To learn more about our sponsor, Conceal, visit conceal.io. Deneen, welcome. Great to have you back with us.
It's nice to be here again. Always a pleasure.
So you and I were having a conversation and we kind of got cut off or ran out of time at the end. You brought up Gen AI, I think earlier than a lot of other people, but you're always on the cutting edge and I appreciate that. But we said we'd catch back up with each other. I want to ask you, how concerned are you about cyber criminals in particular being weaponized by Gen AI?
Well, yeah, I think we're already seeing that happen. There's been recent cases in the media, right, where Gen AI has been used to generate voice spoofs as well as video spoofs and targeting companies to have very realistic business email compromise attacks to transfer money from a cybercrime perspective. I have experienced and talking to my peers in the industry, we're already seeing a lot more sophisticated phishing attacks, smishing attacks as well too, voicemail cloning and things like that. So technology is great, but it is definitely not only being used for good, but being used for bad as well.
So what about the flip side of the coin? There was a CNBC story and Google CEO said that AI could strengthen defenses against security threats in cyberspace. Are we or will we be seeing that? And how important do you think AI will be in the cyber defender's arsenal?
Yeah, I think it's definitely a tool that we need to lean into and understand, not only from the defensive, from the offensive perspective, but from the defensive perspective as well too. If you think about what we do as defenders, the amount of data and correlation and enrichment that we need to sift through. I think AI, those models, we've been using them for a while, and I think as the new technologies actually get in, as Gen AI gets in place, that's going to help us, sift through that information, provide us, I'll say, proficiency as well as efficiency, and get a little bit faster at what we do. So I definitely think there's a place for it.
So I was talking to a CISO the other day at a large enterprise and, they're recruiting, they're, looking for a lot of people right now. And in particular, people who have AI experience is not, a whole lot, obviously. Do you think that makes candidates more valuable? We talk about certifications and a lot of things for, some of the more experienced candidates. That hands-on real world experience, if a candidate had it, would that be as important as certifications?
It's definitely a augmentation to your skill set, right? So I think having that strong foundation, whatever domain or expertise you have in cybersecurity or technology, is still very valuable. But adding on how to be a great prompt engineer, right? That's very important now. Or understanding of large language models and just understanding those basic concepts are going to give you a little bit more advantage to be able to do your job more effectively and give you kind of the edge on the competition or candidate pool.
Now, do you think most cybersecurity professionals just have at least a conceptual understanding of LLMs and, AI and what all of that means both to the cyber criminals and to the cyber defenders?
I think we're getting there. I think we have to, right? The adoption of this technology has been so accelerated compared to even things like the data analytics and democratizing things like that. So one day it was a concept, the next day people are using it to automate and interact with customers or do whatever. So I think we as cybersecurity professionals don't have a choice. We have to keep upskilling and understanding those technologies in order to be able to defend and secure those outcomes that the technology is being used for in our organizations and businesses.
So what about AI's place in the talent gap, if there is even a place? Can any of this technology ultimately reduce the number of cybersecurity positions that we have or help close the gap on the positions that we can't fill?
I don't know that it would replace or even close the gap because we are, starting from a position that's behind already. So as I think about generative AI and its place in the cybersecurity profession, it's really around an augmentative skill set that's going to provide us efficiency and help us, get to the answer quicker than we had in the past. Because we still have to have, I'll say humans, validate and provide context in a lot of the situations. And I always say, it's more of an art than a science almost. It is a science, absolutely, but you have to have the context and the cognitive ability to kind of pull the thread together and really make sure that all those assumptions are right and you're validating what the answers are or what the outcomes are. So I don't think we're there yet. We'll see. The technology keeps evolving at such a rapid pace, but I don't know that we are there yet with our profession.
So we're another year in, Deneen. You've been on with us, several times, and it goes back, probably, 5 or 6 years. Are things getting any better insofar as the recruiting initiatives and, the retention of cybersecurity professionals, or are we still dealing with the same, level of turnover and the same challenge with recruiting people?
There's way more work and way more positions than we have available the talent pool. But I think a lot of organizations are leaning into hiring, I'll say transferable skill sets and then augmenting with training and upskilling and things like that. So I think that's become more of a standard approach now, which is good, and it casts the net a lot wider and provides a lot of benefits because we can teach people technology and concepts, but the experiences and the other contexts that people have worked in really help us get to better outcomes in a cybersecurity perspective. So I think we're making progress that way. As far as like attrition goes, I have seen it slow down from double digits a few years ago to low, low single digits, and we're seeing people stay a little bit longer or be comfortable in their roles because there is a lot to do and there's a lot of challenging work and problems to solve. So I think that's part of it.
So I want to close out asking you a question that I asked to a CISO the other day. You may or may not know her, Susan Koski. She's the CISO at PNC Bank. You've been a CISO for quite a while now. I don't know how many years, but we've been in touch with each other going back to GE Aviation. You were there for a long time. Insofar as talent goes, we have not seen a big change in the number of women who are in CISO positions at these large enterprises, namely the Fortune 500. This year, statistically, the number is 15%. It's down just a little bit from 17%, but it hasn't been changing much. What's your take on that? And do you have any outlook around how that might get any better?
I've kind of observed the same things. It's we're kind of steady. We made a bit of progress a few years ago, and then we're kind of leveling off. So I think we just need to think about once we get women in the door, are we creating an environment for them to be able to continue to grow, be challenged, thrive, and advance as well as as we can. So I think that's the challenge that we're taking a look at now. It's how do we create an environment where we're really thinking about not only women but diverse candidates in general that they can thrive and grow.
Well, role models are a big part of it. You're a great role model for our industry. We appreciate you taking the time to come on with us, Deneen, and hopefully you'll do it again later this year.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me. It's always a pleasure.
Joining us now is Gordon Lawson, CEO at Conceal. Welcome, Gordon.
Thanks, Steve. Great to be with you.
Gordon, we just heard from Deneen DeFiore, CISO at United Airlines. She was previously the CISO at GE Aviation, has a tremendous amount of experience in our industry. And I think she gave us a good idea of where CISOs are at in general at large enterprises. Deneen shared with us that she is looking at Gen AI right now. It holds out a lot of promise. Unfortunately, it's weaponizing cyber criminals. That's a major concern. But it sounds like there's a lot of assessment and evaluation and thought going into this, more so than the actual use of Gen AI right now. What do you think and what are you hearing from other CISOs?
We're seeing this on a daily basis now where not only can you impersonate current or former employees very, very easily, you impersonate domains very easily. So the detection capabilities when a threat actor is using AI to kind of formulate that vector is very, very difficult to defend against. I think that's probably at the forefront of everyone's concern right now. It's just you can't be dependent on the threat feeds in order to detect these vectors. So that's very challenging. In terms of how a company can use it more effectively, I think certainly on the security side, AI can be used to detect anomalies pretty well, certainly before those threat feeds. But I think that the larger concern is going to be around accuracy. There's still the hallucinations that occur when you ask AI for an answer to complex questions. And especially when you think about, Deneen's business and airlines where accuracy and safety are critical, there are some high risks that could potentially occur there. So I think it's still early, but from my perspective, I'm more concerned about being able to defend the threat effectively than I think to be able to use Gen AI in business processes right now.
Gordon, we asked Deneen about the talent crunch in our industry. You know about that all too well. But before I get into that, I just want to point out, interestingly, I've known Deneen for a long time, and she was a bio major. I remember her telling me that she was working in the healthcare industry early on. She was fascinated about technology, knew that bio wasn't really right for her, and she taught herself how to code. She was completely self-taught, and we have a lot of young people, who are asking us about our industry, and there is so many, things out there now that weren't available to her back then, YouTube videos and, certifications, boot camps, what have you. So it is interesting that she's somebody who, really, practiced what she preaches now. And when she was talking about, the state of our industry and the need to get more people involved, she mentioned, something like, say, experience with Gen AI would make a candidate more valuable right now. But she's also, very open-minded to look at people. I'm not sure that a lot of young people recognize that, they can push into this industry. It doesn't have to be a 4-year degree, certainly not a master's degree. I think a lot of ambition and willingness to learn.
The use of AI in education right now is certainly very controversial, but I will say I have not spoken to anyone sort of in that age bracket where their kids aren't using AI in some function or another. That's not to write papers, but it certainly is to perhaps help with research. And I know there is some of the plagiarism going on as well, but there's other functions to defend against that. Bottom line is, I think that young people that are getting into all fields are being exposed to AI, but I think taking that next level, learning how to use it effectively in coding, applying it to other cyber applications, applying it to cloud security, digging a little bit deeper, and I think getting exposure to that, which is all out there now and pretty easy to access. You don't have to access that through formal college education. I think that will make candidates more competitive in this environment.
So before we let you go, Gordon, Conceal's doing a lot of innovation right now having to do with AI. Tell us a little bit about Conceal Browse.
From our perspective, 95% plus of these attacks, and we're seeing the attacks now every day being reported, major healthcare ones across all different industries. The Microsoft one has not been remediated according to all sources here. That is the vector where they're coming through. So it's coming through the browser vector. It's not just email. It's not just a link in email. That's one significant one, but it's also coming through other applications. Our ability to Conceal to scan all these applications all the time and to basically apply an adjudication on the unknowns, which uses AI and ML to do that, allows us to put users in a protected area and also to provide the intelligence and telemetry back to the service provider. We think this is a critical part of the security stack for all size organizations, and it doesn't look like the need for it is slowing down anytime soon.
Gordon, appreciate the insights. Great to have you on with us, and we'll be back with another CISO shortly.
All right, great. Thanks. Appreciate it.
I'm Steve Morgan, founder of Cybersecurity Ventures and editor-in-chief at Cybercrime magazine. This interview was sponsored by Conceal, provider of an intelligence-grade zero-trust technology that protects global companies of all sizes from malware and ransomware. To learn more, visit conceal.io. You can keep up with all of our media at cybercrimemagazine.com.